if the owner tells him he can't spend it, that's a different story. They have all the money in the world. Their revenues are so much greater than they were last year. If they choose not to spend it, if he's told he can't add that player, that's a different story. That's something that this ownership would do that the old ownership would never do.
Well, see,
but again, he said he wasn't allowed to add that player. Now, I don't know if that's accurate or not, but do they have the resources to add that player? Absolutely. It's not even an issue. Their revenues are so much higher than they were last year. They absolutely could add them if they want to. The question is, do they wish to add any more payroll? That's what the question is.
Well, Mike, I understand that, but you think if you have the opportunity, you have a GM in front of you who's actually, he wasn't talking about.
Wait a second. He just said, wait a second. He just said he couldn't spend it. He answered the question. He said he was told he couldn't add Halliday.
Right, but Mike, aren't you interested in why it is that but not even Halliday, a couple of $1 million, he told you there are a couple of players on the low end that he may not even be able to get earlier in the season or in the off season. That you have him there, that you know they're
wait a second. He said wait a second.
And you're not interested.
Wait a second. He has a payroll. He has a budget. That's all. He's working on a budget. He's allowed to work on a budget. He was given a budget. When he's told I can't add any more payroll, I understand what that means. Can't add any more payroll. What part of that don't you understand?
Here's what I don't understand, Mike. I don't understand as a fan why there's this. You're 100% positive that they have all the money in the world.
Wait a second. There's no issue. There's no issue they have the money. It's not even an issue they have the money. Now, whether they choose to spend the money is a different question.
But then that's the issue, Mike, is if you have it.
He doesn't make that decision. He doesn't make that decision. He told me that he was told not to spend the money. He's not the guy to ask why, because he doesn't make that decision.
Yeah, but Mike,
I need Hal Steinbrenner there. Listen, let me explain it to you this way. If Hal Steinbrenner is there, I can ask him why he chose not to spend the money on Halliday. It's not Cashman's decision not to spend the money. He doesn't make that decision.
Right, he doesn't make the decision either on whether to get players for sure or not. That's ownership's too. But we ask him about that.
No, that's not true. He answered the question. He said he wasn't allowed to add the player. He answered the question. He has no more questions to be asked there. Why? It's not his question to ask why. You have to ask Hal Steinbrenner that question, not him.
Okay, Mike, aren't you interested in, as a fan, aren't you at all interested in why there's that disparity?
He answered the question. That's not his question to answer anymore. I asked him, could he add the player? He said no.
Mike.
Now the question. Now maybe I can explain to you again. He doesn't answer that question. It's not his to answer.
Mike, what do you think the reason is then? What do you think the reason is that they are making all the money in the world? They have this payroll.
So wait a second. What is the point? Do you now dispute? Is your issue that you think they are not? Is your issue that you believe they don't have? So are you debating with me that I said they have these revenues? You think I'm making that up? They don't have the revenues? Or are you asking why they are not spending the money? Do you first believe they have the money?
I do believe they have the money.
Okay, so then it becomes a question of how much payroll they wish to put into the baseball team. He said, quote, he's the general manager. He is given a budget. I was told I cannot add that player. I understood that. I didn't even say why. There is no why. He was told he couldn't add the player. He had a budget. Now, the next question. Listen. We're going around in circles here. You wanted him to answer a question he can't answer. You got to go to Hal Steinbrenner for that question. If you have I know what question you want answered. I'm trying to get that to you. The question you want answered is, if you have the revenues, why won't you spend them? That's not his answer. That's Hal Steinbrenner's answer. You got to ask Hal that question. I will ask him that. What I said to you was, I know that in this new stadium, their revenues have exploded. Exploded. Everyone talks about the empty seats. It's utter nonsense. Their revenues have exploded in the new stadium. The people are spending hand over fist in a new stadium. They are making a fortune. If they choose to have a budget, you have to ask the owner why. Not the general manager. Why? The general manager told you he couldn't. He answered the question honestly. He told you I was not allowed to add Holiday. I understood that. I didn't need him to explain, well, why weren't you allowed to answer him? Wait a second. I told you I got a budget. I'm not allowed to answer. I didn't have the money. I was not approved to spend that. I understood that. Now, if I have to ask, wait, you're making all this money, well, he doesn't make that decision. That's an ownership decision. I have to go to Hal Steinbrenner to get that answer. I can't get that answer from Brian Cashman. He doesn't answer that question. I understood that. I got the answer. The answer was he wasn't allowed to add Halliday. That was what he told me. Now, do I believe he wasn't allowed to add Halliday? Considering they were in first place, they probably decided they didn't need to add Halliday. Now, if they're 5 games out and they thought maybe they weren't going to make the playoffs, they might have thought differently. Do they have the resources? I'm telling you they have the resources. I'm telling you their revenues are up enormously from last year. And last year they were, I don't know what the second team makes. That's the only reason I can't say how much over they were. I don't know what the second team makes. I would think the second team is the Red Sox. I don't know what they make in terms of gross revenues. The Yankee revenues are outrageously, and they are enormous. See, this idea that people looked at the stadium and said, hey, they got empty seats. Hey, they're making a fortune. Yeah, they got some empty seats, but they're A, charging $1 zillion for the seats they sold, and B, the per capita spending in the new ballpark is up astronomically over last year. Because there's a lot more money to spend there's a lot more things to spend your money on. Everything in the stadium is more expensive. There's 1 million new places. You used to have 4 things on the menu. You used to go in the stadium and have 4 things on the menu. You could get a hot dog. You could get some of this. You could get that. Now you got 9,000 things you can buy to eat. There's every kind of drink in the world. There's a martini bar here. There is a Delta Suite there. They have, ice cream deluxe stations here. They have roast beefs here, hamburgers here, filet mignon there, sushi here. They have created all these ways to take your bucks. And they're taking them, hand over fist. So they have the money. Now, do they choose not to spend it? Well, that's their prerogative.